the club that you now today know as Amazulu. There's a long history for this 91-year-old team that began back in 1932, originally named Zulu Royal Conquerors. There's royalty involved, there's Mbelebeleni Royal House involved, and so much more. It's exactly 14, or about to go 15 after the hour 6. The Cricket World Cup has begun. Currently, there's a match. It's over, huh? And New Zealand won by 9 wickets in that match there. I think they were playing England in the opener. Haven't really gotten into the cricket yet. Still focused on the Rugby World Cup, which is currently underway. And, of course, a lot of football across the world. But I'm pretty sure in the next week or so, I'll be getting into it. It used to be my number 2 favorite sport. It used to be. This used to be my thing until I started doubting its authenticity. Yeah, Hansi. Yeah. 15 after the hour 6 today, we speak about a story untold. That's what we do on Thursdays. Tell stories untold. And to help us tell the stories, we're going to have Eric Ndunagandaba Ngiti, former Amazulu defender. I'm talking about not now, but I'm talking about in the 70s. We're going to have Fred Mfeka, goalkeeper for Amazulu, back in the 70s as well. We're hoping to get the current and previous owners as well, because such a complex and complicated story that is Amazulu, from where they've come from to where they are now. Formed back in the day in 1932. The team now 91 years old. It didn't always start out as Amazulu Football Club, which it is today. It wasn't always green and white. At some point, the colors were blue and white because they were in the royal household. The king said no, blue and white, because those are royal colors. But we'll get into that and so much more. But the one thing we want to talk about, and the focus of this story about this team formed by Zulu migrant workers in 1932, formerly known and originally known as Zulu Royal Conquerors, is what happened when the team split, giving birth to what now known as Amazulu. From what I'm hearing, the king passes away, and there was a split in the team to say, do we go to the funeral or do we go play the match that we need to play? What did they do? We'll get into that. But in order to do so, please help me help me tell the story. And ngizozama as much as I will, because you can imagine a lot of the story is going to be in isiZulu. Eric Ngiti joins us now on the line. Ndunagandaba.
Yebo.
Bebethini mebekubongela Ndunagandaba.
Babethi Ndunagandaba.
Hayibo njalo.
Hey,
Eric, I want to take you back, man, bro, Eric. I want us to go back, Babungi.
Sure.
When nodaba lwamaZulu niqhamukaphi?
Hey, mina ngiqhamuka very far kude kakhulu namaZulu.
What year?
Kushuthi because ngadlalela iklabhana enqanyana around la kaMashu. In those years, I think mangaphosisi kwaba 60, 67, 68. So bangibona ke ngidlala kuleyo team, so kushuthi ngase ngizodlalela sengihamba sengidlalela wona kaMazulu.
Wena umungena kuona kwase kwaMazulu?
Kwakuyi-Zulu Royals.
Zulu Royals.
Yeah.
Ngoba yaqala phela angithi njengoba sengishilo eqaleni mangivula yaqala iqembu laziwa ngokuthi ke iZulu Royal Conquerors.
Oh.
Lase lishintshwa ukuba iZulu Royals shintshwa yena inkosi uSolomon ngesikhathi salo ukuthi hayi cha manithi nifika la nizohlala nami, let's change the name, let's make it maningena lapha embelebeleni kube yiyona iZulu Royals. So wena ungena kuyiyona iZulu Royals.
Yeah.
Nisembelebeleni ngaleso sikhathi?
Embelebeleni
embelebeleni, okay.
Ibase yeah.
Supported by the king and the royal house.
Yeah. Kube kunama blessings esilo.
And what colors were you wearing at the time?
Same green and white.
Same green and white. So you had moved from the blue and white, you were already green and white.
Yeah, green and white. It was green and white when I came there.
So tell me about the story of this Royals at the time, Zulu Royals at the time. Was it a big team? Was it a hugely supported team? How big was it compared to the other black counterparts in South African football? Who were the players that were playing for the Zulu Royals?
Well, in those days, it was Zulu Royals was still an amateur team, but with a lot of following. Amazulu used to be running for those games. Sometimes there used to be games that are supported by the factories of KZN. A factory will say, I've got 800 rand for 8 teams to play for, You understand me?
Yeah, no, but
keep mhlambe isiteki sika 2000 or in those days about maybe about 8,000. And then comes around teams like 16 teams to play for that 8,000 on knockout basis until certain team that wins it,
And this Zulu Royals was a strong team in that stance. Yeah. It was a formidable team.
Yeah, those days I was playing for a smaller team before I went to Zulu Royals. Before they took me up to Zulu Royals.
When we come back, I want to know the story of kufika kanjani ukuthi niphume embelebeleni, kufika kanjani ukuthi iqembu breaks into two, but we'll get into that in just a few.
Okay.
It's a story of Amazulu Football Club as we know it now, owned of course by Wabzungu, who is the chairman of the side. But let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to the 70s. Let's go back to the late 60s when the man that was running and playing for the team, who's on the line with us now, Eric and Dunagandaba Ngiti, was the formidable defender for the team. Baba Ngiti, now here you are. You've been recruited to this team, this Royal team. You're playing for them. What happens for the team to move from Mbelebeleni, for the team to split in two, for there to be what happened?
Well, it was mainly on the official side, because they used to fight amongst themselves. One wants to be in charge of the team. One wants to do this. So come kanjalo nje ukuthi i-team iqhamuke seyihlukana ibe ama-pieces, kube khona ama-teams aphumayo. Kwaphuma, I remember kwaphuma in that time kwaphuma iZulu Messengers, ilokhuzana ubaba owayephethe ngaleso sikhathi, who was the chairman of the Zulu Royals. Then they chased him out. They said no. So he organized the breakout ukuthi kube khona iZulu Messengers.
So amaqembu wonke aphuma eqembini elilodwa lawo. Okay.
Yeah, then came uLokhuzana. I think who did a great job. Then came Mr. Masondo, Peswell Masondo. Wafika futhi wayiqoqa iZulu Royals, wayakha kabusha, getting players from some of the good teams like Avalon Athletic, where he got Uput Sugar, Cedric Sugar Ray Tulu. And he got players like Omatota Kabashe, Oscar Wanda, 10-6 Mutaung. Then Umasondo built a very, very, very good side for Amazulu.
Now, 1968.
Yeah.
Inkosi uBheka Zulu kwaba ukuthi ugoba ikhanda ngaleso sikhathi ngelanga where he was supposed to be buried eyofihlwa eyobekwa sisho eyobekwa kwakunomdlalo. What do you remember about that?
Kwakunomdlalo angisakhumbuli ke kahle lapho uthe isilo ubani
Isilo Bhekuzulu la eyobekwa khona ngalolanga eyobekwa kwaba ukuthi kunomdlalo iqembu lakhetha ukuthi liyodlala, and a lot of people found that to be very disrespectful.
Really, I don't know about that.
Oh, you don't know that part of the story. Let's move on then to.
I'll be lying if I can answer that one.
But then,
I don't remember.
The part that I remember quite well is Uskeri Kumet.
Oh yes.
Tell me about the story of you and Skeri Kumet.
Skeri Kumet, I took him from a sprinter group of Amazulu, which was Izulu Reds, when Tina Besesi Sibiza Amazulu FT. And then there was a guy that was called Mr. Dlamini who opened his own team and called Zulu Royal. Yeah, you understand? Where is?
I'm with you, yes.
Yeah, kwakhona iZulu Royals encane efomekayo from the amateur side, you know. And then Uskiri Kumede was playing for that team, splinter group, as Zulu Royals. So then we were now called Amazulu FC. And then Leo Lokuzana, Leo team Leo iyona eyayingazwane kakhulu ke namaZulu FC okwase kuyiyona team yamaZulu. Uskiri ngimthatha mina kwiZulu Royals edlala khona because he was such a good player. And ngamthatha ngamletha eteamini yamaZulu. That's where uTrabulu wasuka khona ke because esikhathi siyogoka we used to go to embelebeleni lapho sasifika sigqoke khona before siphume siyodlala Princess Magogo. Every home game we used to go out overnight siye mhlambe sihlale ehotela silale khona sibuye after ilokhuzana lunch. Then we come back to Mbelebeleni where we sit down and warm up and dress up before we go to that game. That's where Ikona for the day. You understand? So in the end, ushuthi akhuluma nalomfana Uskiri. Savumelana ukuthi sizamthola nangempela samthola sahamba naye ke yabo. Ngesikhathi sesembelebeleni sesigqoka ke manje sesilungele igame. It was a big game because we were playing against Kaizer Chiefs on that day. And then ngesikhathi silapha embelebeleni ke sigqoka warm up nathi yabo. Kwaqhamuka abantu nje about ithi babela ko 6 or 7. Beqhamuka nje bangena nje ngesibhobo baqhamuka ngeside esingalazi nathi baqhamuka nje bangena baphethe induku labantu kodwa sacabanga phela ukuthi mhlawumbe hayi abanye babalandeli bethu bamaZulu yabo kanti they are in here for a fight. Ushuthi ke mabefika ke labo bantu ngihlezi phansi ngigqoka amasokisi ngifuna ukufaka amalokhuzana amakhokho ami siyahlabelela asinakile sibona nje futhi labantu sibabona njengabalandeli bethu yabo abantu bamaZulu verse yabo kodwa ke manje they are with a splinter group of iZulu Royals.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Ushuthi nginganakile ngifaka amasokisi ngikhuphula amasokisi kusho omnyama mfa Ntinduku ongishaya ekhanda.
Hayibo.
Ngenduku ekhanda. Oh, Kumele ngibheke phezulu hawu kwenze njani madoda hayi basho kulokhu base bembamba lo mfana lo sasimthathile uskiri igumede bamthatha bamdonsa bahamba naye bamkidnap yabona like kidnapping
because ushiye lelinye iqadi infection yaphuma uze kunini
angis
so what you do they kidnapping him they taking him back to where he had come from where you had gotten him from
yes mina ngangimthathe ikakhulukazi it was on I think it was on a Wednesday and Thursday ngoba ngangimthatha noma ngimfaka emotweni sihambe siye ejimini yabo ngalo weekend sidlala naye lokho sidlala neChiefs yabo hayi ngamthatha ngamse ejimini sathi usuthi beze ukuthi hayi uskiri usejima namaZulu yabo so base beplana ke kanjalo bamthatha ke bamhudula bamthwala bahamba naye right awungasale ngisengivuza igazi la shayile la ekhaya bangishaye ngemshizi
bashaye wena wedwa
bashaya mina
because obviously they knew ukuthi wena owamlanda
yes bakusho lokho bathi hey but yikho lokho ukukhokhomela abadlali bethu hayi ke kushuthi ke hayi kodwa ke saqhubeka lento ayizange isibulale kakhulu saqhubeka ngahamba ngageza banginesa bangibhandisha ngaqhubeka ngayo sahamba saya egroundini siyodlala sisuka khona ke eRoyal Crown le yasethwa embelebeleni
bese uskeri yena waphindwa wabuya
wabuya wafika sesisegroundini sesilokuzile sesingenile egroundini kodwa ke singakadlali kusho ukuthi sale sesimgcina ngoba sokuthi is traumatized yabo
so azangadlali that day
abangasakwazi ukuthi simsebenzise ngokudlala.
It's 18:33 on the Mighty Metro FM. We've got Unduna Gandaba, Eric Ngiti on the line, telling the story. Some of the fascinating stories, because you can never really truly tell the story of Amazulu. It would need a lot of people telling different stories, because it's such a rich 91-year history that is embedded in this amazing story. Let's take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll continue. 36 on the Mighty Metro FM. Thursdays, we tell amazing stories of a time long gone by. We're going back 91 years and trying to figure out the story of the founding and the essence of Amazulu Football Club. From my point and my end, one of the latest owners of the club that I would know well is obviously Ulunga Sokelo. Took over the club as one of the owners back in 2005, ultimately selling it to Andile Zungu, who's the current president of the club. But he now joins us on the line. Lunga, it's always great to have you. Great to hear from you. Been a while. How are you?
I'm good, and good evening to you, and good evening to your listeners.
Do you miss football at that level?
Actually, initially I've enjoyed my time being a fan, but you can never not miss the action of football, and the people that I worked with, and the industry in general.
So we're seeing you soon then?
I get asked this question many times, and my answer is always the same, that, look, I'll review it in 5 years' time. Look,
come on.
I'm still involved, but more on the development side, which was also a passion of mine at Amazulu. So I'm assisting our local region here. So there is a little bit of involvement, not as intense as the professional setup.
Talk to me. You guys take over, you get Amazulu in 2005. What is your thing with Amazulu? What is your story, your legacy? Why Amazulu? What's the penchant with Amazulu? What do you know of Amazulu's history that led you to saying, I love what this team stands for?
My father grew up an Amazulu supporter, and invariably the family supported the club. Now, as a man for the community and being very close to the royal family as well, there was an absence of Amazulu at the time when we started being involved in football. Discussions happened with Mr. Belisha because Zulu Royal was as a play, and at the time it was Bela League, the national first division.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his dream was always to bring back the brand of Amazulu Football Club. So that was the first purchase that he made from Mr. Bigisha. The club, he then owned it for a year in the NFC at the time. Because what you have to understand is that when we bought Zulu Royals, we basically bought an empty shell. It was basically just the name. So the whole club had to be rebuilt. We had to get the brand back, Amazulu Football Club. We had that opportunity which we took of buying a Premier League status. And we had to build this club from scratch, from the start. A couple of years later, go through a rebranding exercise, market the brand again, and really build a football club with an academy, development, community involvement, and all those things. So that's what we built over the years under his leadership. And so we were extremely happy and satisfied when we exited that, now we built an institution that's going to give back as well to the people of KZN and give them a brand that they can be proud of.
I mean, I look at the history of Amazulu and how old it is now and all that's happened through the years with the formidable, and it's such an exciting story. It could be a movie with how Amazulu came to be and how the different factions kept coming from this one Zulu Royals and breaking up and multiplying until Amazulu. From your understanding, what is the tie between the Royal House and the team Amazulu?
Amazulu was formed by King Solomon to unite, the Zulu people behind that brand. The team has been doing well, and it was introduced and then adopted by the Royal House. So for me, it's got a very strong significance to us, especially in KZN of Zulu origin. Because if you look at even at how our nation was founded, it was different tribes that were united, obviously by the great, by King Shaka the Great. So that's, it plays such a pivotal role, and it sits right in the soul of who we are as people of KZN in general, in terms of its history and heritage. And just like how our nation and province has been through so many things over the years, it's still strong, and it stayed relevant, and it's still in existence now. So it goes back to exactly what you're saying, that there's been so many changes over the years, so many different challenges that have come, but we're here 91 years later, and the club exists. So for me, I think it's got a great significance there, and hopefully it will continue for the next 91, 100, 200 years.
Absolutely amazing. I was so rude to not tell you that we've got Eric Ngiti on the line as well. Perhaps you want to say hi to a former defender who, even during the splits was there during those hard times and the formation times back in the day. He's on the line now. Perhaps you want to pass your greetings.
Yes, good evening, Babnduna. I hope you're well.
Yes, Chairman. I'm very pleased to be talking to you. Well, I always see you while you're busy with our team, Amazulu. And I wish you all the best that you can take this team to a very high level for the Zulu nation.
I mean, but that takes me to that. As Eric says that, I mean, you're no longer involved, Lunga. How out are you? When somebody says, I'm out, I've sold the team completely, what is the communication between yourself and Andile Zungu? Are you still involved in any level at all?
No, look, in terms of involvement, no, we're not involved. We do communicate with not just Mr. Zungu, even the guys at the office, even if it's just a message of support. I think, the importance for me, even when I was involved in the club, I used to tell people that what we need to start building now is institutional knowledge, something that's going to remain in the club way before we even leave. You know, at the end of the day, I think all of us, we're never going to live forever. So even speaking now to Ubab Eric and other legends of the club, or Obam Fega, you know, we try to bring them very close, and the late Bab Sugar Ray Kolo, to bring them very close, because that was so important to keep them in the club, so that as generations come and go, the institutional knowledge of the club remains. So, I mean, a lot of the people that work at the club and that work at the club are still very close friends of mine. Sometimes they'll call and we'll have a little bit of a chat, whether it's about a match or advice. And not because, you know, I know everything, but I think it's important to be in touch. So as a supporter, I'm 100% there, but on a normal operational basis, I'm not involved.
If you are to write a book and the most important chapter of the story of who Amazulu are, what do you think that one story that stands out, that one story that speaks about the essence of who Amazulu are is?
I think Amazulu, as I pointed out to you, it's a very important institution within the culture of KwaZulu-Natal. I think it's also an institution that not only has inspired, has given inspiration to many, has given an identity to many. And I think the involvement in the community, even outside of football, is very important. So that would be my focus, if I had to write a book, to really talk about the importance of the club within our culture today, and within the development of people and communities, especially within our province. I had the privilege of spending, I think it was most of the day, with the late King, His Majesty King Kotu Zelitini, probably a year before he passed, and we shared a lot of stories about the club and the importance of the club within the nation, and he also gave a lot of advice on how we can play a bigger role in the development of the nation as well. So I think that should be the core focus of the story of Amazulu Football Club, what it means to the people and the communities, especially in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Lungasakela, I'm forever going to be a fan of what you did. I'm forever going to be in awe of what you were able to achieve to bring this giant of football back. I appreciate you and can't wait to see you at a bigger scale. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the listeners. Let's continue. Hope we'll be here for many years to celebrate this club.
I really hope so too. Thanks so much. Let me go now to Eric Ngiti unduna kandaba. Eric, umubuka Amazulu namhlanje ucabanga la nisuka khona kulaba basebasha manje, what would you like them to know ngamazulu wakho la owaziyo nala isuka khona? Mungathiwa nje nabo baxwayisa ubatshela into eyodwa ngamazulu, yini le ufuna ukuthi ke kube yiyona abayithathayo bedlulisela phambili?
Oh well, ngithandaza nami isikhathi esiningi even abantwana bami bake bangihleke sometimes when ngibona Amazulu etrota engena on the field, sibuka mhlambe ngibuka ngila ekhaya, ngibuka la kumabona kude kudla uma kudlalo, babuze bathi baba wena usupporta ini? Thina awu ngaze ngibuze bese ngibakhombisa iy'thombe odomeni, ngithi mina na i-team engisupportayo engifisa my win at all costs. So-ke mina ngeke uze ungibuze ukuthi ngifisela ini Amazulu, ngafisela konke okuhle okungenzeka empilweni, aqhubekele phambili. Kuphume lokuthi ngaso sonke isikhathi kufuneka sivike izembe or siphume sibuye yonke leyo nto. Ngiyacabanga uMr Lokhuzana uBabuzungu usesebenze umsebenzi omningi kodwa ke futhi usemningi osamselela ukuthi le club ufuneka mayikhuphuke ibe sezingeni la elifanele.
Ngiyathemba bakuzwile baba Erigit, ngiyabonga mina.
Yebo.
Thank you so much. She's out of here. Let's take a break. When we come back, hopefully we'll be able to get a hold of the man that we need to talk to about a big African matter. 1850 on the Mighty Metro FM. Welcome to it. Hugo Bruce had a lot to say in the press conference that I hosted with him a little bit earlier. It was an exclusive to SABC Sport. It happens every single time he announces a team. He sits with myself and a journalist from the SABC Sport. Today, it was William Nyandu. Tomorrow, the guys come in for Podcast Fridays. We'll take some of the things that we spoke about and we'll be able to decipher it. We'll be able to hear what the gents think in terms of what he had to say, particularly. There's one thing he said that I'd like to hear the guys. He says, hey, guys, forget it. Sundowns have won this season again. Hugo Bruce said, it's going to be the same as the last two seasons, and it'll be Sundowns who've won it. So, yeah, we're going to play that for you and have it go on tomorrow. We'll have that conversation with the Podcast Friday guys, and hopefully you'll be able to join in on that conversation. CAF, Confederations of African Football. They're going to be in their country tomorrow. There's a big draw happening for the Champions League group stages, of course, which Sundowns are the only team that qualified for that. Remember, Orlando Pirates are out, and with the new rules of CAF, it does mean that Orlando Pirates don't drop down to the Confederations Cup. They're out of the competition altogether. So there's a Confederations Cup draw and the Champions League draw happening tomorrow. But also, there's the African Football League, the AFL, that I'd love to hear about, because now Pirates are out, Chiefs are out. It's just Sundowns. And Sundowns, as Umazola told us on Monday, can't compete in that either, because the PSL and its board of governors have said no. Sundowns cannot take part in that competition either, because what they need to do is they would have us, the PSL, move games for them. And already we're moving games for the Champions League, so we can't take on any more. I wonder what that does to this league. Is it going to be one of those leagues that stayed in the water before it's even begun? I don't know. But have a listen to this. This is Hugo Bruce a little bit earlier speaking about Bafana Bafana, speaking on Bafana Bafana, but making comments about football in South Africa altogether. Remember, we're going to be taking your calls tomorrow, getting into conversations tomorrow about all things Bafana Bafana when the Podcast Friday guys get you.
I tell the things like they are. I don't like to say grey when it's white or black. For me, it's black or white. And yes, what I feel is when I say the truth, and everybody knows that I say the truth, but they don't accept it, and that's a little bit amazing for me. So when I said before, for example, we
played that one already for you at the top of the show as the kickoff, but the one I was talking about is this one in particular.
Sundowns will be champions. You see already now they have 7, 8, 10 points ahead, and we played 8-9 matches.
Yeah.
So they win every game. They didn't lose 1 point. When I see Chiefs and Pirates, who normally has to be the biggest opponent of a team like Sundowns, it's not what we expect from those teams. So yes, the quality of PSL is not increased. It stayed the same. Same thing. Sundowns is dominating, and the others are trying to follow, but they can't follow. And this is not good for South African football. And I think that for Sundowns even is not good.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to get some thoughts on this one, because, every time Hugo Bruce opens his mouth, and he said it, that he's not going to change. He's going to speak his truth and, speak how he feels, because that what is his honesty and truth to him. So Sundowns are gone again. Look at what they've done. They're not dropping any points. They're winning every game. In fact, the South African football landscape is slowing Sundowns down, and that's why they're not winning at the Champions League. That's why they're coming out at the semi-finals, at the quarterfinals, simply because they don't have competition difficult enough in South Africa. For myself and everybody in the studio, Phela Nzulu.